I
Mm.
think it's real easy for kids to judge their parents, and I try to have a little empathy for her because it was just hard. She had a sick husband. She tried to make ends meet any way she could. In fact, she developed a phenomenal work ethic with my sister and I. It was just abusive. If you are
Mm.
sacrificing any part of yourself to belong, that's fitting in. That really is. And the thing
And it's
is,
not healthy.
no, it's not healthy. And this is the thing. A lot of people say to me, well, they'll ask me when we know it becomes unhealthy.
Yeah.
When you start to mentally hit it and then it starts to become physical, that's your first sign. Okay. Was I going to let the fear rule me or was I going to take it back? And that's what I needed to do. And that's what I
Were
did.
you going to validate her,
That's right.
right, and what she said,
Mhm.
or were you going to create a different narrative?
Yes, because here's the truth of it. You do have the ability to take back your narrative.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's what makes my work a little
Ooh,
different
I
than
love that.
yes.
Say that again. I love that.
You cannot belong to something greater than yourself until you learn to belong to yourself.
Love that.
So
Wow, that's one of the
that's
coolest things I've ever heard.
well, thank you. I love that. And that's honestly that was probably the bigger argument in my dissertation
Yeah.
because I see belonging as being part of something larger than yourself without sacrificing who you are.
Yeah. Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using Newcalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Dr. Beth Kaplan, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike
Thank
Litton
you.
Experience. I'm super excited to have you here. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So, with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today, and then we want to talk about this amazing book that you wrote about the workplace and
Yes.
how people need basically skills to be able to belong, right, and
Yeah.
feel like they belong. So thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
So where were you born?
I was born in Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah.
So, as the story goes, my dad was a disc jockey for Philadelphia stations, and he just went where he could. He would do voices, he would promote concerts and all these great things. And my entire family is Philly based. So, they wound up in Hollywood, Florida, where I was born, and the rest is history.
Did you grow up in Hollywood?
No, I grew up in Bensalem, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No one out there listening probably has postcard envy of Bensalem, but I loved it personally. Really just honest, hardworking people, a lot of great history. It's where Ben Franklin flew his kite. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with that, with good
No
old Ben.
way.
No, and I'm just a Philly girl through and through.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What was your favorite thing about growing up there?
It's a really wonderful question. I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that, how real it felt. And I was very aware that there were common struggles.
Yeah.
So for me, I never felt like I didn't fit into the community. Now, my family, that's a whole nother story. I don't ever
Yeah.
think I fit in there, but I felt that the community was for anyone that felt like they didn't belong, and I didn't even know well, that's what it was when I loved it.
Do you think your family felt like they didn't belong?
No, I think I don't feel like I felt like I grew up in a family where I belonged. I felt like I grew up in a very dysfunctional atmosphere, um,
Okay.
and leaving the house was my sense of relief.
So can we talk about that for just a second?
Of course. Yeah.
So so growing up, so I
Yeah.
can see sort of a connection here, right, about the book, right?
Yes.
Because the book you wrote is titled Braving the Workplace, Belonging at the Breaking Point.
Yes.
And it's quite a title,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
I can see a lot of people needing to read this book
Yes.
because they're not feeling like they belong. And
Yes.
it
And not
sounds like at a
sure.
fairly early age, you felt that way. Can you talk about that
Did.
for a second?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be fully transparent, and I tell my story over and over again because there's going to be someone out there listening that's going to say, "Wait, hey, that's me too."
Yeah.
And I was brought up in a family that was pretty dysfunctional. There was abuse.
Mm,
I grew up with a sick father. He had MS all of his life, slowly progressing, and then got faster. And it was just a mom who had to deal with a lot of all the aches and pains of daily life,
mm,
and maybe not as well as she had hoped to. I
mm,
think it's really easy for kids to judge their parents, and I try to have a little empathy for her because it was just hard. She had a sick husband. She tried to make ends meet any way she could. In fact, she developed a phenomenal work ethic with my sister and I. It was just abusive. I mean, there's, a lot of things that I didn't realize until an adult weren't normal. Like for me, I'm a Gen Xer,
mhm,
and I just thought all 80s, 90s kids got hit. Like I did not know that that was not an experience that others didn't have
mm,
until I was older and would talk about things and things would come
mhm.
out and explanations that I didn't really understand until I realized that it was not the regular experience that most people I knew were having.
Well, it doesn't sound like you're criticizing. It
No, I'm
sounds like
not.
you're learning from, which is
That's right.
healthy,
That's right. Yeah,
right?
here's the thing. There's a lot of shame and stigma that can come with it. It
Mhm.
took me a really long time that it wasn't mine to carry.
Yeah.
It's not my shame. It's not. So I do have a lot of understanding around it and um, somewhat an appreciation, not for being abused, but for understanding why others may feel the way I felt and helping them understand that they can be so much more than they ever thought they could because you're way more than your history.
So, are you familiar with Tony Robbins?
Yes,
Are
I've
you
been I know Tony, not well, by the
are
way.
you familiar with his story?
Yes, I
And
am.
you're familiar with how he actually thanks his mom, who's not here
Yes,
anymore, right?
that's right.
How he thanks her basically and is grateful for her being the way she was because she turned him into the man he is today. That's an
Yes,
incredibly healthy way
yes.
to look at something that wasn't very healthy.
I think it's because if not, it eats you up. It
Yeah.
swallows you whole. And for me, I'm never going to let that happen. And I think I've also feel like I've got a way about me that screams do over. And I mean that in the best possible way. I'm a mom. I have children of my own, a husband, a dog named Kelsey. We're Eagles fans. Spoiler alert.
By the way,
I know. Um, don't hold that against me. And
I would never.
stories about that for
By the way,
days.
I'm a big Jason Kelsey fan too. So I'm not a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan,
A big
but
Kelsey fan.
yeah, and your quarterback went to my school.
Oh, well,
He
thank
was
you.
he was my quarterback. Jalen was
Yes.
for a semester or for a year. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he's my guy.
That's right.
Okay.
So first, by the way, to name after Kelsey in the state of Pennsylvania, it was a
Yeah.
Super Bowl bet, the first one. So for me, I'm not necessarily at the stage where I would tell you that I'm thanking her quite
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't have the same pain anymore. I don't. And that's okay with me. I use it to fuel and hopefully help others with their stories.
Well, you have a PhD, and so
Oh,
that's why I'm so excited to talk to you about this kind of thing because
yeah.
this is a different way of looking at things,
Yes,
right?
100%.
Because
Yes.
there's a school of thought that that is not the most healthy way to look at it, right? And I want people to understand that a big part of who we and that's why we do this podcast, by the way, a big part of who we are is where we came from.
Yes.
It's kind of the chicken and the egg theory, right? And what I find is, I mean, you're episode 327, as I told you before we
Yeah.
started, and we have some of the wildest life stories you've heard in your life, I guarantee it, right? Because they're the wildest ones I've heard, and wow.
Mhm.
But it's specifically what we set out to do, right?
That's absolutely right.
And
And
what's
I
interesting is almost everybody says to me, "Wow, I've never been asked those questions before.
yeah.
Mike, nobody ever asked me about this. Nobody, you're right."
Yes.
And when people talk about things on our program that are uncomfortable, I feel like it's therapy for people that are listening
Yes.
because there are people out there that feel like they were by themselves. Like
Yeah.
you said, I didn't understand that people didn't get hit. There
Yeah.
are a lot of people that have been on this program and a lot of people that listen to this program
Mhm.
that have been hit.
Yep.
And they're discovering through listening to us that that's not necessarily that foreign a concept. Like
Oh,
it really does happen.
yes.
And when it happens, it is a reaction to a whole bunch of things that that person, who that parent, whoever it is, really couldn't control,
Yes.
right? They felt like they were in a place where they had no control and they lashed out. Well, the person who just happened to be there happened to be the kid. And what happens is these adults now
Yes.
take this sort of, I don't want to call it victimhood, but it's sort of like that. They
Yes.
take this and it affects their self-esteem for the rest of their lives if they don't
Absolutely.
process it correctly, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a whole bunch of people out there that kind of have this, for lack of a better term, sort of, and you can correct me obviously, but sort of stunted emotional growth.
Yep.
And none of us are perfect, right? I mean, all of us have things from our past that and doing this program, doing this podcast has been incredibly cathartic for me
Sure.
because I didn't have a perfect childhood, right? And my parents are going to listen to this and go, "Yeah, you did." Right? I didn't. Um, but I am grateful for the way I was raised. I'm grateful for the things that I learned, even though some of them were incredibly difficult to learn.
Of course.
But it turned me into somebody who appreciates where people come from and appreciates how they've dealt with what they've dealt, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And
I
and it's
do.
one of those because it's a process. It's about processing, which I'm guessing your book is about too,
Mhm.
because people go through all this and they go through their childhood and they go through all this, for lack of a better term, trauma, right?
Trauma, right?
And then they show up with all of this baggage
Right.
at work, and there's all these other people that have all this baggage at work, and trying to belong is a chore, right? It's a big thing.
That's right. And I think for me, I absolutely, just to let you know, I did go back and I did talk to my mom about the abuse,
Yeah.
which she doesn't believe was abuse. Let's be very clear for the record. And I remember saying to her
So she
when
didn't agree?
no, no,
Oh,
not at all. No, not that she didn't hit. She agrees. But what she said to me is, Beth, I'm going to make this very clear to you. The way you know when it's acceptable to hit your children is if you don't feel badly afterwards.
wow.
Mhm.
That's an interesting concept.
Mhm. It
I've
is.
never heard that one before.
That's right. And I think for me, I sat with that for years and years and then therapy, lots of therapy
Mhm.
afterwards. Um, Realizing again that that's not my shame. That is her shame to carry because if she's not able to even conceive of that, it's no wonder that as a child I couldn't regulate my own emotions.
Yeah.
When you have someone in your life that is clearly not able to carry their own in a realistic way. So
Well, and I mean, you don't know what's coming
that's
because
right.
you don't know which mom's gonna show up,
All the
right?
time.
And you
Yes.
never know what you're going to do as a child that's going to trigger them.
That's right. So that's for me how I like to say now I'm a recovering people pleaser, but I was absolutely a people pleaser growing up because
Yeah.
of like I said, all I wanted to do was be loved. And I thought that when you love harder, you get loved harder in return or just anything.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to be the way it is. And the same goes for belonging when we think of work. You think if you're going to try harder to fit in, that you're going to belong more, like the more you give of yourself and your sacrifice. And I hate to break it to anyone listening, that's just not it. If you are
Mhm.
sacrificing any part of yourself to belong, that's fitting in. That really is. And the thing
And it's
is,
not healthy.
no, it's not healthy. And this is the thing. A lot of people say to me, well, they'll ask me when we know it becomes unhealthy.
Yeah.
When you start to mentally hit it and then it starts to become physical, that's your first sign. Okay. And our body has what we call a neural alarm path. I always picture it differently than most probably, but as a fire truck that's going around the neighborhood and you hear it really loud.
Mhm.
Now you can be in your house and be like, it's someone else's and shut it off, which is what most of us do. Okay. But the reality is it's going to keep sounding until you deal with it. And if you don't, it's just going to get worse and worse physically. So I hate to say it, if you're out there and you've tried and you keep saying, but if I do more, it's going to get me to where I need to go. It's probably it may, but after a lot of trauma you're doing to yourself and things that you can't get back without maybe putting in 3 times more of the work to do it.
And I totally, completely, 100% agree with you. The thing that I've learned, and it took a long time, it took decades for this to happen. The thing that I learned was I needed to focus on me.
Yes.
Because if I didn't focus on me, I couldn't take care of the people that I loved and the people I cared about and the people that I wanted to quote unquote fit in with,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Because we have biases, right? We have things that cause us and other people to prejudge us,
Yes.
which drives me nuts, by the way. I
I
just
I
think
never I know.
it's
I
so short-sighted, right?
really
Because you don't know, like you're prejudging this one person or you're prejudging this other, and all of a sudden, I mean, literally, if you got to know them, you'd get to know what an amazing miracle they are,
Oh, yeah.
and how they can contribute to not only your life but to other people's lives too. I mean, anyway, it just thank you for going there with me. I really appreciate it because I know it's painful and I just feel like it's something that our listeners need to hear simply because you've attacked it, you've addressed it, you've dealt with it, and you're
Yes.
better because of it, and you've done it in a way that's healthy. And I just want people to understand that sacrificing, like you're saying, sacrificing themselves, who they are and how they take care of themselves, for instance, right, is not the answer.
Not and
It's
I'm gonna tell
not.
you, anyone out there that feels like that's the best coping mechanism, it may be a short-term win,
Yeah.
but you need to play the long game.
Yeah.
It's going to get you. I mean, listen, I'm talking to you and I'm well adjusted, in general around these
Mhm.
topics, but they come back. It's like
Yeah.
grief. It hits you at times you are not prepared to deal with it.
Mhm.
However, you can make it easier on yourself by addressing it and making sure that you're taking care of you. So
Mhm.
you can't belong to something greater to yourself until you belong to yourself first. And that's what makes my work a little
Ooh,
different.
I love that.
Yes.
Say that again. I love that.
You cannot belong to something greater than yourself until you learn to belong to yourself.
Love that.
So
Wow, that's one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
well, thank you. I love that. And that's honestly, that was probably the bigger argument in my dissertation
Yeah.
because I see belonging as being part of something larger than yourself without sacrificing who you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Like we talked about the Eagles. Here's a great example. Like what teams do you like?
I'm a San Diego
Right.
Chargers fan.
Okay.
They're now
You
the LA Chargers,
I know, but
but
you're
when they were
always
in
going to
San
follow
Diego,
that.
I was a big Chargers fan.
So then you're a Chargers fan and you
Mhm.
go into a bar and you see someone wearing a Chargers hat. I'm going to guess you beeline to them before anyone else in that bar.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, you're doing it because you don't have to change anything about yourself. You only have to be yourself.
Mhm.
No fitting in required or necessary.
Mhm.
And that is really how all of us want to feel.
Yeah, it's like a magnetic pull
That's exactly right, because you're pulling to things that light you up inside
where you belong
where you
or
belong.
you feel like you belong.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. I absolutely love that. Okay.
Good.
Sorry we took a turn. I
Oh,
know we went down a rabbit hole, but I
all
felt like
good.
it was an important rabbit hole to go down. So growing up in
Yes.
high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Oh, English,
Mm.
hands down. Loved symbolism. Loved it all.
Did you have a favorite teacher?
Yes, Mr. Barbetta. We absolutely.
Why was he your favorite?
He was my favorite because he gave me real feedback.
Mhm.
He was my favorite because he made English and stories come alive in general,
Mm.
and he made me question things in a way that enabled me to use my own emotions And he really taught me the gift of empowerment.
Mhm.
Empowerment is one of those topics that makes me nuts, to be honest with you, because so many people think they can empower others. The only person that can empower is you empowering
Mhm.
yourself. He inspired me to learn how to do that for myself.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Barbetta.
And by being that example, you empower others.
That's I could not agree more.
That's
Yeah,
it right there, right?
right.
So, Mr. Roach, when I was in high school, my speech coach, speech teacher, debate
Yeah.
coach was that person for me. And
Mm.
it's amazing to me. I married into an educational family. My mother-in-law taught for 30 years, and I'm a big teacher guy, right? I love teachers. And what's interesting is last week I became a teacher officially for the first
Oh,
time.
congratulations.
I'm now a
Amazing.
college professor, if you can imagine that.
That's amazing.
Just blew me away,
Oh,
absolutely blew me away. So,
good
and I
goal.
I don't know why I even told you that, but it's just one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. So so I just love how teachers
Yes.
have an impact, and they can have an impact that lasts a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible, and I was explaining to my new boss Friday morning, last Friday morning, that I truly believe that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
And I love that moment where I'm in front of a crowd, a group, right? A classroom, and I see the light go on like that, right? That
Ah,
all of a sudden, and it just I'm getting chills just talking about
well,
this.
I don't know if you saw in the back of the book, I actually did not thank Mr. Barbetta, who maybe I should have, but I did thank Mrs. Welch, and she was
Yeah,
my fourth grade teacher. And she was actually truly one of the first people in life to encourage me to use my voice.
yeah.
So, know a little bit more about me is I rare such a chatterbox, but did not really talk in school until I was in third grade,
Mm,
most ever. In fact, they thought that I had learning disabilities based on that because and probably my poor mom at the time was pulling out her hair trying to understand why I was so talky at home and then couldn't
mhm.
get 2 words out at school, as I was afraid of my own shadow.
Yeah.
Really, I developed a nervous cough, all the things, and then in 4th grade, Mrs. Welch came back from her trip to Japan,
Mm,
and I was such a book lover, and I all the places I wanted to explore in the world, she got to go to one of them,
mm,
and she was the first teacher ever, again, took till 4th grade till someone realized there might have been an issue with me not talking.
mm.
And she listened to me, and I hung on every word this woman said, and she
She
was the
pulled
first
you
one.
out.
She did.
She pulled you out.
She did, so I thank her very much in the book
Aw.
because I think she was the first person who really taught me that it was okay to be me.
Will you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Will you show us the book, what it looks like?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. I love it.
Yes. Thank
That's so
you.
cool. I think this is a big deal. This book's
Yes.
a big deal. It really is. And I think it's important for people to understand how they can belong
Yes.
in their workplace, not just in their workplace, but just belong, period.
It's right.
So,
Right.
okay, thanks for doing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So after high school, oh,
Yes.
actually, let me ask you this. Growing up in
Mhm.
Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
who was the most influential person to you?
My teachers,
Yeah.
hands down. Yeah, they taught me that there was a greater world outside of what I knew and that if I really worked hard enough, I'd get there.
It was almost like they were a refuge for you.
They were. I mean, my grandparents were who I was closest with in life,
Yeah.
and they taught me the value of family and community outside of what I knew in my home.
Yeah.
And my teachers just opened this world and made it acceptable for me to love parts of myself that were not necessarily the coolest. I mean, no one grows up embracing their nerdiness.
Mhm.
I'm a nerd. And they were the first to actually make it cool for me and acceptable in a way that I didn't know was possible.
I love that. So after high school, where do you go?
I went to college. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and begrudgingly, I may add, I was very much a hard worker, and I only wanted to go to GW. And long story short, it cross-listed for an early decision with something my guidance counselor submitted, such a crazy story,
Mhm.
and I didn't get financial aid. And growing up where and the lifestyle I had, I desperately needed help to get to
Yeah.
college. I wouldn't have done it on my own. So I literally had the decision taken away from me that whoever gave me the most I would go to, which was Pitt, and greatest experience I could have had. I
Mhm.
wanted to go to GW because in my head, that's where lawyers went. And everyone around me told me I should be a lawyer.
Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off.
But here's the thing, nothing about me wanted to be a lawyer, nothing. I just, again, people pleaser, wanted to make
Right.
everyone around me happy. So I went to college at Pitt. That's actually where I met my husband and some of my closest friends that I still have to this day. And for me, it was really hard. And I mean that in the best possible way because I had this image of what people wanted me to be.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I didn't want to be that person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So went to college at Pitt, met my husband who had a different philosophy growing up. You went to college to explore and find yourself. It wasn't necessarily a means to an ends.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the best experiences I could have had. And then of course later I went to Penn, again, Philly girl through and through. And that's where I got my master's and my doctorate.
Okay.
Mhm.
I just want to talk about this for just a second because
Sure,
I
of course.
don't want to get hung up on it. But
Sure.
you go to Pitt
Yes.
because of an error, right? You
Yes.
end up you graduate from Pitt.
Yes.
What is it that makes you decide to go to Penn and pursue your master's and then your PhD? Because this is no
No.
small thing, right?
No,
This
none
is
of it's
a
small.
life-changing, massive commitment. What made
Yes.
you not just stop your education at Pitt?
So now you're going to see a whole bunch of patterns. And this is one of them. So I did not go back to get my master's and my doctorate until I was 40. I'm older than I look. And so that's a really big gap in time. I worked, I liked work. I
Where'd
was
you
at a,
work?
I worked at so many companies before Advent Software, which is now SS&C Advent. I worked for Salesforce, one of the
Wow.
greatest companies I still feel like to this day in
Yeah.
the Um, and this is what happened though. I had a boss that just wasn't the right fit for me.
Mm,
And I started leadership development at Salesforce at the company. Like that's how much they trusted me to like come up with and dream things and they believed in me and supported. So my manager left and I started to work for a gentleman who said to me, "Hey Beth, all your programs need to become virtual." This is way before pandemic, okay?
mm,
And I was like, so dramatic, I'm sure of it. I was like, "That's not right. We can't do this. Leaders need to meet in person. Oh my God, end of the world." So I went to send him research that backed up what I thought.
mhm.
And what you know, there was a spam ad for University of Pennsylvania and this program. And he said to me, "Oh yeah, you definitely should do this." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm literally trying to win an argument with you and you're talking
Mhm.
to me about grad school. That's never happening."
Mhm.
Um, and by the way, going
Never
back,
happening?
no, I never wanted to go back to grad school. Also, when you grow up in Philadelphia, Penn is like out of reach to most
Oh,
people.
I got
And
you.
so it's Ivy League and it's the best
Mhm.
of the state and it's all these things.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel like I was enough for it. Um, you know, and that's a pattern I've had. And probably why I do the work I do, because I just see so many people around me not sure that they feel worthy enough to be in certain spaces.
Mhm.
And so he literally was like, "No, go do it." And I went to myself, "Oh, I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm going to just apply anyway, because what could I lose?"
Mhm.
Okay.
What's the
And
worst that happens? They
what's
say
the worst
no.
thing that happens? I didn't even want to go to Penn to begin with. I never wanted to
Right.
go to grad school. And I got in.
Wow.
That's what happened. It's the most, for me, the patterns when I don't plan and when I
Mhm.
just give in to instinct,
Mhm.
it works. It works best for me, truthfully.
So you didn't feel like you belonged
Definitely not. A pen? No.
at Penn, right?
No. Mhm.
And you had this, it's called the amygdala, right?
Yes.
Am I saying it right? Amygdala?
Uh-huh.
There's this thing in your brain, it's fight or flight,
That's right.
and it spends 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to protect you.
Yes.
And that's that voice in your head that says, "Oh, well, you don't belong. This is not, you shouldn't do this. This
Yes.
is a
Protect
risk.
yourself.
You could fail, da, 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 da," right? All this stuff.
Yes.
What's interesting though is if you look at the people who have succeeded at a very, very high level, and I mean beyond, just like you, beyond expectation, right? Just
Right.
wow. Okay. They quieted that voice or they contradicted that voice on a regular basis. Okay.
Yes. I'm
We
the latter.
mentioned
I
Tony
contradict.
Robbins earlier. Tony
Yes.
Robbins has that same thing that we all have. When he
Yes.
gets up in the morning, his mind tells him, "Oh, no, no, we're not doing the cold plunge today because it's going to be cold,"
Yes.
and all these things, right? And he
Yes.
literally says that the first thing he does every single morning is the cold plunge because his mind's telling him not to, and he's telling his mind, "We're going."
So I do the same. So this is what I'll tell you I do, and you'll laugh, and that's okay because I literally have no shame at this point in life. I get up every morning and I have the same instinct of self-preservation.
Yeah.
Okay. You're to this, you're not this. And I
Mhm.
made a rule in my life to say F the woulds, the coulds, and the shoulds. I get up
Yes.
and I look at myself in the mirror and I say, looking good, girl. Because
Yes.
my basic, hands down, biggest insecurity is looks and this and that. And I'm a 90s girl. Our moms criticized everything we did. Come on.
Right.
Like, so I legitimately have rewired my brain to talk nicer to myself. And I think that it's made a huge difference. I lost weight. I really, no other patterns in my life changed but that one and how I
Yeah.
talk to myself.
Yeah.
And the same as Tony, it is the first thing I do every single morning. Sometimes my husband's there, sometimes he gives a little chuckle. It's okay. I don't care
Yeah.
because it makes me feel better about who I am and the way I talk to myself and treat myself. I treat everyone really nicely. The fact that I wasn't doing it for myself had to change.
Yeah. And you start the day off right, right? You're
That's
starting that conversation correctly.
That's right. That's right, and I set goals with myself, but I have to physically say it out loud, and by the way, I go to a 6:30 workout class, shout out to Garage Bar, they'll all listen, they're the best, and they know I do it, and we just embrace it because the
Yeah.
thing is, what am I gonna do? Pick on and be like, "Oh, fat, sagging,
Mhm.
old." No, it's gotta
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Gotta stop.
1000%. I
Yeah.
love that. That is so healthy. Okay.
You're gonna be like, "Looking good," the second
Love
you wake
this.
up
Love
tomorrow.
this. I've literally never said that to myself.
Oh,
And it's going to start today. It's
I
going to
can't
start
wait.
today.
Good,
Seriously. Never
good.
said that to myself. I love that dialogue though. Okay.
Mhm.
So you end up going
Yes,
to Penn and you end up earning your master's.
yes,
What makes you decide to go to doctor? I mean, what
yes.
makes you decide to pursue your PhD?
So that rebellious nature that we just kind of identified through patterns is who I am. It just is. And I was in a cultural anthropology class, which, let me make it clear I was not the person quoting anyone in class. I wasn't knowledgeable. I wasn't like going through theory. That's just not who I am.
Right.
I chuckled deep inside and then, oh my God, thought, no, you start paying attention. So I was just sitting in a class, and so for the record, I went to school to get my master's in leadership and learning strategy, which is what the
Yeah.
program is about.
Yeah.
CLO, really great program.
Hmm.
And I was in class, and we were talking about survival and thriving and the verse and
Hmm.
the differences.
Hmm.
It was an incredibly brilliant professor. And then there's little old me who raised their hand. Very generational speaker. I always have energy and probably use the word like more than I ever should. And I raised my hand and I said something to the impact of, like, "We're talking about collaboration and cooperation, but when I'm in a one-on-one with my manager in the workplace, my back's up against the wall. It feels like that doesn't exist." This whole concept of collaboration and cooperation, especially when I'm in a one-on-one or a performance review where all my weaknesses and strengths are laid bare.
Hmm.
And they all started laughing at me out loud. No one heard what I said. They only heard the way I said it with the word like that started it out. And the teacher said something to the impact of, "I get what you're saying, but because the way you said it, it's hard to take it seriously." And I should have fallen on the floor. I should have left right then, but I didn't. It almost felt like right then and there, it became a calling to me.
Hmm.
There was an overwhelming amount of fear that came into my head. Okay. And fear is the hardest emotion to suppress,
Yeah.
but it's key to our survival and who we are. And in that moment, I thought to myself, what is the antidote to that feeling? And it was belonging. And it just never stopped. It just kept pounding through me. And I started writing furiously. I had a professor next to me who was like, oh, I guess that's your dissertation topic, and didn't even know what I was writing. And I just could not get it out of my head. And then the more and more I talked about it, the more people argued with me. And I think I like it. I think I like when people argue with me a little bit because they'd be like, oh, belonging is membership, it's attachment. And I'd be like, no, we're talking about you in the context of others. How do you maintain who you are in that setting? Which made me question, how do people construct their sense of belonging
Without sacrificing who you are,
without
right?
sacrificing who we are? Because I wasn't embarrassed about how I said it, for the record. I was embarrassed because people were laughing at me, and
Yeah.
that's the fear that took hold. And so I just couldn't stop. I could not stop thinking about it.
Did it anger you that they stopped listening?
No, believe it or not, it did not. In this particular cohort and the classes that we were in, I think I was applauded for my intelligence for probably one of the first times in life. So that felt like a superpower I had. Um, but what was very interesting is that the only emotion I felt was fear, and I didn't like it. I did
Can
not
I
like that
can I
with
ask
me.
you about fear for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Fear is an interesting thing
Oh, yeah.
in that, and I believe this 100%, that we fear more the unknown
Yes.
than we do anything else, right? So we fear, and we sort of, and it's
Mhm.
again this amygdala, right? We
Yeah.
blow this thing up, this not known thing. We
Yes.
blow this up in our own minds, and it stops us.
Yes.
Would you agree? Well, let me ask you this. Do you believe that fear can either stop you or it can drive you?
Yes, I do, and I'm gonna
And
tell
it's
you
your choice, right?
um, to a degree, you have to get to the point where you realize it's your choice. I
Yeah.
believe happiness is a choice. Fear is still harder to suppress, but I'm gonna tell you what drove me.
Go ahead.
In that moment, everything that my mom put on me felt true. When she would say things like, "You don't belong here," or "Things you're saying are stupid."
Mhm.
And my fear was that being true. In that moment, I knew I had a choice. Yes. So maybe yes, it is a choice I had to make. Was I gonna let the fear rule me, or was I going to take it back? And that's what I needed to do. And that's what I
Were
did.
you gonna validate her,
That's right.
right, and what she said,
Mhm.
or were you gonna create a different narrative?
Yes, because here's the truth of it. You do have the ability to take back your narrative.
Mhm,
And in that moment, everything like she said felt to be true, but I knew it wasn't.
mhm.
So to me, that's what I did. I took it
Do
back.
you feel like it's where you went, though, as a refuge? Like, your mind
Yes.
went there, and
Oh
that's what
my
you
God,
know,
yes.
right, versus what you don't know? You know
Yes.
this, and so this is where you go because that's where the comfort is,
It's not even the
right?
it's just what I knew. So to me, they were laughing at me, which felt very much reminiscent of what I grew up with. Well, you
Yeah,
can't do this. Why are you talking out loud? You sound stupid.
right.
To me, every time I'm on a podcast with you or I'm doing a keynote, that voice still pops in my head. I want everyone out there to know it's unfortunate, but her voice doesn't end.
Mhm.
But what happens is the way I react to it.
Exactly.
Because this is the thing. I'm having a great time talking to you. I'm not afraid. There's nothing that she said that's keeping me away from it. So who really has the last laugh? It's me, because my fear has changed. My fear now is not addressing it and
Yeah,
not being the best I can be.
and letting it stop you,
That's
right?
right.
That's
Mhm.
the biggest thing. The biggest
That's
thing
right.
is looking at it and going, "I let it stop me.
That's
I
right.
let it stop me from doing this. I let it stop." You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like you're not living your full potential simply because you're letting it stop you.
And that's exactly right. I mean, we all have this propensity to fear.
Yeah,
And listen, fear's not all bad. It's what's helped us survive for the amount of time we have. Whether or not it stops you in your next steps is what really the fear evolves into. until you learn how to master it.
So, including you, we
Mhm.
have talked with and had a chance to get to know some absolute superstars. And I mean super achievers, the whole
Mhm.
thing. What I found about them that seems to be this common thread is what drives them is the fear of not reaching their potential, the
Yes.
fear of being just like everybody else.
Yes. I have a distinct anyone that knows me knows that unique is the name of the game, new is the name of the game for me because I have no desire to be like everyone else, and I'm gonna tell you I spent most of my life only wanting to be like everyone else.
Yeah.
That's
But you
it.
have to get to a place in your life where you're
Yes,
just not willing to accept average. You're just not willing to accept what everybody else is willing to accept.
that's right, and I'm gonna tell you most of that comes from and I know you've read the book, in the fact that my older son is a cancer survivor.
Mhm.
So, that was the moment for me,
Yeah.
unfortunately. When you have a child that is sick, whose life is hanging in the balance, when you have a child who's diagnosed as early as mine was at 2, 3 months old,
Mhm.
it becomes all about you, and I was, like, very determined for that not to be his identity,
Mhm.
more than what I wanted for myself, and luckily enough, it just happened to rub off, and he would tell you that's not true, for sure, but I happen to believe that that was my moment in life where I really had a decision to make, whether or not I was going to just be the mother of a cancer survivor, or I was just going to be a daughter that was abused, or I was just gonna be the smart girl, and I wanted to be all of them, and I wanted to be more, and the thing is, that's what's led me to where I am, and I will tell you, the best part about Penn is they did not make it easy for me at all, not even a little bit. They argued with me constantly. I'd hear things like, "Oh, it's the new inclusion is belonging," or, "Oh, it's this," or, "Oh, it's that," and thank you, because Penn really is the one who really taught me how to embrace the fact that I know what I'm doing, feeling good in my own skin, and the fact that my success metrics are just about making sure no one else feels alone when they pick up that book or anything else.
It's almost like if you want it done, tell them they can't do it,
Yeah, a lot of reverse psychology
right?
there.
Penn did a lot of telling you can't do it.
Oh, yeah, and now they're huge supporters. I just wanna let you know. It's not like I don't think they ever believed I couldn't do it. It's that I was
It's a
looking at
challenge.
an entirely new way and
Yeah.
lens, and they did it masterfully of
Yeah.
helping me understand that maybe I was thinking smaller, and now it was the time to really level up.
You know, I've talked with and had a chance to get to know some graduates of Penn.
Yes.
And that seems to be a running theme. That
Yes.
seems to be something where people go to school there and they
Yes.
leave and they're superstars. And they're superstars because they just don't fear the way they did before. They are motivated, they are ready to go, and there's nothing they won't do.
There's
It's
2
just amazing.
I'd agree with that, and I think there's 2 ways you can go with that education.
Mhm.
One, it's a very self-sufficient based education. You're doing a
Yeah.
lot of it on your own, and I'm gonna tell you in the beginning, that felt bad to me, really
Mhm.
bad. I was like, "Wait, I'm paying all this money to try to figure out all this out myself?
Mhm.
Well done, Penn, because now I can do it anytime I want, and you've
Yeah.
taught me how to do it well." So, I would agree that that's definitely one of the characteristics of the people I know coming out of Penn come
Taught
out
you
with.
how to think, taught you how to act. Go
Think
get
for
it.
myself,
Go
there's the
get it,
difference,
right? Go get it.
right? They taught me that there was a way to do things to show up in the world that I wanted to show up as, and not only that, but how to have people listen to me in the best possible way, because here's the thing, people picking up this book, they know themselves. They don't need me to tell them who they are.
Mhm.
They need to feel good about it. They need to realize that braving the workplace is just like braving any other scenario. It's being yourself in a world that tells you to be something different every day.
Well, and this is about how they deal with it. This
That's
is
right.
about them and what their decision-making process, right? The
Yes.
fact that they make a decision that they're not going to let what has happened to them in the past be who they are. They're gonna
Yes.
take that and use it as jet fuel to get to where just like you did, to get
Yes.
to where they wanna be.
I hope so. Yeah,
So there
that's
are
right.
people listening to this podcast who are thinking about writing a book. And the reason I know that
Yes.
is we've had people get back to us, the feedback that we've
Yeah.
received about they've been inspired by some of the life stories that we've had our guests share
Mhm.
to go out and do things like one couple got married, right? That kind of thing, right? But
Yeah.
a bunch of people have started podcasts. A bunch of people have decided to write a book. Talk about the thought process that went into the decision, because this is not a small decision in life, right?
Right.
To write this book.
So it's a very unsexy version is that when you write a dissertation, you don't use your own words. You use other people's words to make
Mhm.
arguments.
Mhm.
And I was really excited to use my own voice. So every single time a professor would say, "This is great, but these are your thoughts, not the way that we need to hear it," I set it aside. That's what I did. And I think it was smart to do that because I felt really good about what I had to say,
Mhm.
but knew that it wasn't the right forum to do it. So then afterwards, it made the writing process incredibly easy. The biggest hurdle of writing that book was using my own voice and being okay with it. And now it's like I can't get out of my own way. That's all I do anymore. So,
That's
and I'm happy
awesome.
to say that, right? I
I
don't
love
have
that.
that criticism, that imposter syndrome, I think that people go through.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
How did that feel to say that just now?
But I don't have imposter syndrome. Good. It feels good because the thing is,
Nobody can stop
that's
you.
probably one of the questions. Well,
Nobody can
the one
stop you.
no, they can't. And one of the questions I get most often is, well, do you ever feel like you're an imposter now? I welcome, first of all, it's not because I think I know more than other people.
Mhm.
It's because I welcome them knowing more than me.
Yeah.
I'm excited. In fact, if I'm in the smartest one in the room, I'm in the wrong room. And so what I want people to do is I want them to pick up the book, feel less alone, but also understand what their superpowers are. That's one of the best compliments I get from people picking up the book. Aside from there's a specific chapter that shows you all the different real traumatic experiences that people have at work and how they get written out of work. So a lot of people don't go to their therapist with work-related issues because they feel like that trauma is less than,
Mhm.
and that's not the truth. So I have people being like, "Oh, I was in chapter 6 and I brought this to my doctor and this is what I have." And I'm like, "Great." Because it's one thing to understand, but what you do with it next is so important. It really is. So the fact that this is an action-oriented book that people can pick it up and realize that I'm not just telling them to quit, because here's the thing, work is tied to your livelihoods.
Mhm.
That would be incredibly irresponsible. But when you're at an impasse, you need to know what to do and how to sort it out for yourself. So I always think this book is a little more belonging than workplace based, but maybe people argue with that with me a little bit there. And the next books will just be belonging series based also.
That's awesome. So, people talk about knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is knowledge.
Mm,
Power is knowledge combined with action.
yes.
So, like you're talking about, they read it in chapter 6 and they went to their doctor and they, right? That's one of
Incredibly
those
brave.
things, absolutely, that's one of those things that people need to be aware of,
Yes.
is you need to take the next step. You need to get that voice, that amygdala, and shut it off, right?
Yes.
Or use it as motivation and go do what it's versus, the opposite of what it's telling you to do.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. I know we're almost at time, but I would tell people that there's a voice inside your head that's loud. It's usually
Mhm.
obnoxious. When you realize that it's just the story you're telling yourself and not necessarily your real truth, the world changes for you. It really
Yeah.
does. In fact, I use this with my kids all the time when they come home and they're like, so and so was talking about me, or this teacher doesn't like me. And I say to them, is this the truth or is this the story you're telling yourself? Immediately snaps them out. Sometimes they're like, "Oh, stop trying to therapy us," but at the same time, it's always the story we're telling ourselves, always, and that's so sad because, like I said, people don't talk very nicely to themselves, and it goes with how we started. You can't belong to something greater until you belong to yourself first.
Totally agree with that. And I think the most powerful thing you just did with your children
Yeah.
is ask them questions. It's why we're writing a book, The
Yes.
Power of Questions,
Are
right
you?
now,
Well, I'm
and
excited.
how it makes human communication effective by engaging people, right?
Use that one, it's a good one.
We're going to. We're going
Good,
to.
good,
Thank
good.
you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been amazing. Show us the book one more time
Sure.
so they can get it at Amazon. They can get it anywhere, right? Where they sell books.
Anywhere they sell
Braving the
books.
Workplace.
Braving the Workplace. Thank you so much, Mike. It's such a pleasure to be on your show, and honestly, I'm one of the many fans that you have out there, so it means even more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com. And the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.